In today's video, I'm going to be doing a tier list ranking the new origins and the new stories that we got for the Mortal Kombat characters in Mortal Kombat 1's rebooted timeline. As we know, there are 3 timelines in the Mortal Kombat games. The timeline that exists in the original Mortal Kombat 1 all the way up to Armageddon, then from Mortal Kombat 9, the second timeline, from Mortal Kombat 9 to Mortal Kombat 11, and then the new era, which was the rebooted timeline after the events of MK11 into Mortal Kombat 1. A lot of these characters, some of them have different origins and different stories, and I'm going to rank them based on how well I think they were done in this new era. If you haven't already, make sure you leave a like on this video, subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss content from me, and join my Discord if you need a community to join and talk Mortal Kombat with. And if you guys want to tell me how wrong I am in my Discord on my rankings, go ahead and let me know in my Discord, clicking in the link in the description below or leaving a comment down below and letting me know how wrong I am. Anyways, I'm going to be getting the cameo characters out of the way because some of them appear in the story mode, but they don't really have much going for them and it doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to put them all in the NA category because, again, they're in the game, but they're not in the game story. And some of them, if they are in the game story, they don't have much going for them either. So it's not really fair to compare them. But yeah, let's put those cameo characters all in NA. Now let's start with Baraka. I do think that Baraka and the whole Tarkat disease was a weird approach, but I also do think that it was done pretty well. Like, if you're going to be doing a rebooted timeline, a different kind of take to introduce the Tarkatans in your Mortal Kombat world, this was definitely not the worst one to go to. And he acts like Baraka, he talks like Baraka, and he was really well done in Mortal Kombat 11. And I didn't know if you really needed to top that or if you needed to really like do more with that, but they did do more with it, and I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't anything spectacular, it wasn't groundbreaking for the character, because I would say the groundbreaking moment story-wise for Baraka was Mortal Kombat 11, and Mortal Kombat 1 basically does that, but gives him more cutscenes and also a chapter that he can play in, or that you, the player, can play in. So I would put him at A tier. Nothing groundbreaking, but it is a good story approach. It is a good showing for the character, for sure. Johnny Cage, also, I would probably say, is, honestly, I would actually put him at S tier, because this is probably my favorite Johnny Cage of any iteration that he's ever been in. It is a perfect mix of mature Johnny from the NetherRealm era, from like the Mortal Kombat X and Mortal Kombat 11 era, and the arrogant, young, like cocky Johnny, Hollywood star Johnny from a lot of, you know, like Mortal Kombat 9, Mortal Kombat 1, some of the Legends movies and things like that. I think Mortal Kombat 1 gives Johnny Cage a perfect mix of the two. He is both very funny and arrogant, but also very mature, and he can be level-headed if he needs to. And I think that's a great way to write Johnny. I don't think NetherRealm has ever done Johnny dirty in terms of character writing. So yeah, definitely Johnny Cage comes into this new rebooted timeline also very fantastic. Much like he exited out of the last timeline, the MK9 to MK11 era, he exited that timeline, also a very good character. Now, General Shao, on the other hand, my mind kind of goes blank when it comes to this character. Like, I understand this is not Shao Kahn, and maybe what they're going for is somebody who, like, kind of is supposed to become Shao Kahn. And even if that was the case, let's say at MK2 he becomes Shao Kahn or something like that, I don't buy it, because he just comes off as like a yelling brute who, you know, likes war and conquer, and has like no depth and no personality outside of that. And Shao Kahn was never really like that. In the original timeline, he had a lot of depth. He had a lot of, you know, cool relationship dynamics between him and his daughter Katana, and Melina as well. There was a lot going for him in the original timeline, and Mortal Kombat 9 specifically does pretty well and does a pretty okay job in translating that over, like, from the original timeline. But MK11 kind of just ruined him, and MK1 is sort of the same, but less power, like with less power. And it just doesn't work for me. I wouldn't want to see this guy become Khan. I wouldn't want this to become Shao Kahn, this character iteration. I just wouldn't want him to be Shao Kahn, because it just wouldn't be recognizable to the Shao Kahn that I know from the original timeline. So I'm going to put him at D tier. I don't entirely hate it, but I just don't like it either. I think Garrus came out of MK1 a better character than he did in MK11. The fact that he's now Mortal Kombat's Watcher type of character, sort of like the Watcher in the Marvel Comics and the Marvel What If series, if you've seen that, I think is a very good character route that he has taken now. And I would love to see him in more Mortal Kombat media and outside Mortal Kombat media. And if he shows up in MK2 or MK13, I don't think I would mind. I think he works well. The fact that he's sort of like keeping Liu Kang in check, making sure that everything is calm and stable, and, watching over the timelines and make sure everything is correct, I think is great. I think that's a great role for him to take, because I don't know where like his character route was supposed to go in MK11. I don't know what his personality was supposed to be, what his role was typed to be, other than like a henchman. He's more than that now, and I am glad that is the case for Garrus, because I've always liked him, and to see him be better is great. It's not the most exciting thing in the world. It's not the most exciting character storyline, not very big and splashy, but it's very beneficial to the character, and I think it adds a lot to the Mortal Kombat series. Now, Havik, on the other hand, I want to put him at D tier, because I'm waiting to see if the rumors are true that we're going to see Titan Havik as the main boss of a possible story DLC expansion pack. But right now, I'm gonna have to unfortunately rate Havik as an F. This is just such an unrecognizable character compared to the Havik that we've all grown to love. He's not funny, he's not trolly, he's just pure evil. There's no depth, and there's no twist to him, no pun intended, but it's just pure evil, and it's just pure like, oh, I'm going to create chaos, like you're gonna accept it, la la la, rah rah rah. That's just not why I like Havik. Havik would actually take the side of the good guys if it benefited his ideology. Like in Mortal Kombat Deception, he actually joined the forces of light. He joined the good guys to fight against Onaga. That was cool and interesting for a character that looks very spooky and very evil. And that's the charm of Havik, is that he looks very spooky and very evil, but he's not actually. He's kind of just trolly and chaotic. And in Mortal Kombat 1, it's Dairu, who's just pure evil, who gets his face burnt off, and he looks like an emo boy in the story mode, and I don't like that one bit. So I'm hoping that Titan Havik actually acts like classic Havik, because the Havik that we have now, I don't like story-wise. Now, gameplay-wise, whole different story. Gameplay-wise, he plays totally like how I would imagine a modern Havik would play, but story-wise, it is just completely off the board, and it's unfortunate, because I really wanted Havik in Mortal Kombat 1, and to see him be this kind of one-dimensional, raw type of character, very, very heartbreaking. Very heartbreaking as a Havik fan, as somebody who is rooting for Havik to be in this game. Kenshi is a character that I believe it was done very well. I am so glad that we finally got to have a Kenshi chapter. I think Kenshi having a cool bromance dynamic with Johnny Cage is a very interesting character route for him to have. I never would have thought that was the case, but he acts like Kenshi, he talks like Kenshi, and everything about him in the story mode is exactly why I like Kenshi as the character and why he's so popular. So nothing was groundbreaking about him. There was nothing like, through the roof. There was nothing that elevated his character to the next level, but I do think that it put him in a good spotlight character writing wise. So I'm going to put him at A tier, because I don't believe there's anything wrong with the character. Unfortunately, Katana is not going to be as high as Kenshi. I'm going to put her at D tier, because her origin and the way she acts and talks in the intros is pretty much the same. It's her character writing and the role that she plays in the story mode. She's a jobber. She doesn't do a single thing, nothing of significance at all. Basically back to where we were when her story appearance in Mortal Kombat X, and her role and her contribution to Mortal Kombat 9, and her role in her contribution in Mortal Kombat Armageddon, and her role in her contribution in Mortal Kombat Deception. She has not done a single thing in the Mortal Kombat story mode outside of Mortal Kombat 11 since Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. Nothing of significance, and it sucks that she has regressed as a character and she has taken the back seat and having her character, story stolen from her by Mileena, and we'll get to that later on when we move on to Mileena. Now, Kung Lao, I think, was done very well. He is not as snarky as he was in MK11. He's not this jealous asshole, pissy baby kind of character anymore. He kind of acts arrogant and he kind of acts jealous a little bit, but he learns to humble himself throughout the story, and his character ending actually emphasizes that a lot. And I think that's probably the best Kung Lao ending that we have gotten in any Mortal Kombat game for, in the past 20 years or so. I can't remember a really good Kung Lao ending, especially the last ending, the MK11 ending, where he's just like, beat that, Liu Kang. That was such a cringe ending. It was so bad. And in his ending in MK1, it has him humble himself. He learns how to not be impulsive. He learns to be slow with the learning process and take things more seriously, because bad things will happen if you act impulsive and you act arrogant. And that's something that I've wanted to see Kung Lao have in a long time. The only reason why he's not S tier is because I do wish he was more of the silent type. He was more reserved and he was more kind of serious, kind of like his appearance in the Mortal Kombat 2021 movie. And you guys know how much I don't like that movie, but one of the highlights of that movie is Kung Lao because of his characterization. I would like to see that kind of characterization implemented into the games, because I do think that the 2021 movie, with all of its flaws, this dog shit movie, it did get Kung Lao right. And I do think that MK1 is almost there, not quite, but it does a very good job, very much a better job compared to his characterizations in the previous games. In my view, I think that Li Mei was done very well in MK1. I'm going to put her at B tier. There was nothing about her character that was offensive. There was nothing about her character that was out of character in MK1 story mode. And you also have to understand that there was only two character routes that NetherRealm was going to take for her. And it was either Onaga's concubine or what we got in MK1 story mode. And I will take what we got in MK1 story mode at any point of the day. A lot of people have this misconception of her being a Mortal Kombat champion, and they'll say things like, oh, I want Mortal Kombat champion Li Mei to be in Mortal Kombat 1. Where's that Li Mei? You have to understand that she's not a Mortal Kombat champion. She won a Mortal Kombat tournament that was local to her village. It wasn't the Mortal Kombat tournament. She just won a tournament within a local street fight, basically. So she wasn't this big, huge grand champion or anything like that, but she was a champion for her village, Sun Do. And I like how Sun Do was heavily featured in MK1's story, and her entire personality is based on doing what's best for her village. And she's a very community-oriented woman, specifically with Sun Do, with the Sun Do community. And I think that's very great. That was very core to her character in the last games, and they nailed that in this game. So again, putting her at B tier. As a Liu Kang fan, I'm going to put him at B tier. That's not a knock against anything. There was nothing bad about Liu Kang. It was basically everything that you would expect out of the character, and everything that you expected out of the character was good stuff. And I actually kind of do like the little twist. It wasn't really a twist, but the whole choice that he made, where he gave up his power as Keeper of Time, and he's mainly just a fire god who protects Earthrealm, and he wants to stay in Earthrealm and not have this almighty power of, the Keeper of Time. And he keeps that he kind of relinquishes that because he doesn't want to go mad. That's very smart of him, and I like how mature he is now. It's much more of a mature Liu Kang this time around. And yeah, like everything that you would expect out of a good character, good Liu Kang characterization is present within MK1. I'm glad that he's the main character still, and I'm glad that they done him well. So yeah, nothing very special about him, but nothing bad about him either. So I'm going to put him at B tier. Now, when it comes to Mileena, I'm going to get a little spicy here, and I've talked about this before. I'm going to put Mileena at D tier. The only reason why she's not F tier is because I am supportive of the general idea that she is the main spotlight girl, or she has the main spotlight and she's the main gal of Mortal Kombat 1. I'm okay with that, but the devil's in the details, and it all depends on how you do it. And the way they did it in MK1 was basically take everything that Kitana would have done, taking everything, all the character moments that should have belonged to Kitana, and gave it to Mileena. And as a result, it came at the expense of Kitana being less of a character and her having terrible character writing and having a very terrible and diminished role in Mortal Kombat 1. No. I don't like the idea of propping up another character to bring down another. And that's exactly what happened in MK1 story mode between Mileena and Kitana. Jared's moment of him reuniting with his family should not have been Mileena's moment. That should have been Kitana's moment. When you think of Jared and you think about the general, story idea of him reuniting with his family, you see him talking to Kitana. You see him talking to Sindel and having those three be together again for a reunion. Kitana didn't get any of that. She only got a hug. And I don't think there was an exchange of dialogue between the two characters. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. That should not have gone to Mileena. That should have gone to Kitana, because we have not gotten a Jared story, a story where Jared's character is fleshed out through Ermac and having a reunion type of story with his daughter and his wife at all. We've never gotten that in previous games, and this is a story that we have been really wanting to see fleshed out and put in cutscenes for. And the fact that we actually got to have Jared and Sindel and Kitana all in the same story, and you didn't do that. You instead gave it to somebody who he's had no historical relation to, is just pure robbery. Pure robbery. Look, I know a lot of Mileena fans like to have this idea of, oh, Kitana was always in the spotlight of Mileena. Kitana always was the main gal and always got these good stories while Mileena never got them. Well, I'd like to remind you of the story of Mortal Kombat X. Can you tell me what Kitana's role in that story mode was? She was an undead revenant jobber. She didn't do anything of significance in that story mode. What did Mileena do of significance? Actually, she did quite a lot. She was very much involved in Mortal Kombat X's story mode. She had an interesting storyline where she took over the new Outworld Empire and became Khan or Khanum. And she had this really cool and interesting power struggle to hold on to the throne after Shao Kahn died. That's a very interesting story. Just because she died doesn't mean that she was done dirty. It was a good story for her. She actually got a lot to do. She took a leadership role. Now compare what Mileena did in Mortal Kombat X's story mode to what Kitana did. It's night and day difference on who was the main spotlight girl in a very recent Mortal Kombat game, Mortal Kombat X. I understand that she wasn't in Mortal Kombat 11, and that's fine. So if you wanted to have her be the main girl in the next game, which is MK1, again, I was supportive of that general idea, but you also have to go back to Mortal Kombat 9. Did Kitana do anything of significance in Mortal Kombat 9? No. Did Kitana do anything of significance in Mortal Kombat Armageddon? No. How about Mortal Kombat Deception? No. In Kitana's story, in Deception, she literally falls to her knees and cries because she finds out Armageddon's going to happen. That's it. That's her whole story. And in Armageddon, most of the game takes place in Edenia. And and the main Edenian girl, the main Edenian character, is not present in that story mode. Like, what the hell? Where is this idea that Katana's always getting these golden stories and Melina's getting nothing? Now, look, for those who keep saying that, oh, let Melina have this moment, that Melina's never had this before, let me give you that. Let me give you the fact. Let me just say that it's true that Melina never had this kind of moment before, and she was always under the shadow of Katana, and Melina's never done anything of significance in a lot of Mortal Kombat stories. Well, if you didn't like it happening then, why are you all of a sudden okay with it happening now? If you care about good character writing, you shouldn't like the fact that a character was propped up at the expense of another. Because apparently that happened before with your favorite character, and now all of a sudden you're okay with it happening now when your character gets the main spotlight. Now, if you care about good character writing, you wouldn't like this, but the fact that some of you guys defend the character to say, oh, let her have this is her moment, I'm starting to think that you don't actually care about good character writing. You just want to Yas Queen your favorite character. Now let's move on to Raiden. Now Raiden, in my view, was done incredibly well, especially compared to how he was in MK9, MKX, and MK11. Through MK9 to MK11, Raiden has always been this very stoic, no personality, kind of boring speech guy. There was nothing really about his character that had like depth and layers, like his character in the original timeline. In the original timeline, he actually was very down to earth. The reason why you like Fujin in MK11 is the reason why you should like Raiden, because Raiden's whole character was basically Fujin in Mortal Kombat 11 in the original timeline, and Mortal Kombat 1 Raiden is very close to that. He's a very community-oriented man. He cares about the people that he surrounds himself with. He's visiting Madame Bo, and he's, caring about his village. This is something that I would expect to see original timeline Raiden be like. Somebody who cares about people and somebody who has a very good heart. Very much would like to see this kind of Raiden be the standard for this character in terms of character writing. Rain, on the other hand, I'm actually kind of disappointed because he's not the son of Argus anymore for no really good reason. There's no reason why he shouldn't be the son of Argus. That's one of his most iconic character traits. And in his ending, or like throughout the story mode, he's like a henchman for Shao Kahn, which I kind of would expect him to play a role in even in the original timeline, because he was Shao Kahn's general. But in his character ending, when it's all said and done, he joins Havoc to flood Sato. And then after that, he falls to his knees and cries and asks for forgiveness. Where are you going with this character? What is Rain supposed to do? What are you doing with Rain? Like what what is he doing? What is he doing here? I don't understand. Like, why you would make these huge changes for this character and have it not be for any good reason, and what you do is like nothing, like absolutely nothing, and very weird and out of character. I'm gonna put him at D tier because I do think that he can be saved. I do think that you can write him in a better way, but what we got in MK1, no, I don't think it's good. Now, Ashura, I believe, is probably the defining poster child of perfectly translating a character over from the original timeline and the original iteration into the modern age. Everything about Ashura in MK1 is exactly pinpoint accurate on how she is in MK Deception or the original timeline in general. I absolutely love Ashura character-wise and story-wise, character story-wise, whatever you want to say, in MK1. She is very perfect. Everything that I have been telling you guys about on why this character is cool and why I like the character was shown in MK1. Everything was shown in MK1 that I like about the character. Very much appreciate that. So she definitely deserves an S tier. Reptile character-wise, I think was done pretty well. I do think that the trope, I'm going to put him at B tier, because I think the trope of the kind of the cliche trope of taking a bad guy and then turning them into a good guy or writing them into a good guy is a little bit too much, and it goes a little bit too far and bleeds into Reptile's character. But as a result, it does give players the opportunity and Reptile fans the opportunity to play him in a chapter in a story mode and for him to have more cutscenes and more dialogue. However, I'm okay with him being a villain. I'm okay with him being a henchman. Now, I think we can all agree that one of Reptile's best showings was in the Mortal Kombat 1 1995 movie, and he loses that fight. It's okay for him to lose fights and still be cool. Like, he was cool in the 95 movie, and he lost the fight. And that was the only thing that he got, but he was still cool. So it's okay for characters like Reptile to be henchmen, to be having this really cool, flashy fight, but still lose. That's okay because it's been done before. It's a little lazy to take a villain type of character and turn them into a good guy. Again, I've said that's a very cliche trope, and I think that it's very unnecessary for Reptile because I think it's okay for him to be a villain and to be a henchman as long as he gets cool things to do. We're okay with that because, once again, it has been done before. Now, this one's a little controversial. Kuai Liang Scorpion. I actually did enjoy Kuai Liang Scorpion in the story mode. I'm going to put him at C tier, but I didn't like it enough to where I want Kuai Liang Scorpion to be Scorpion throughout this entire new timeline. Look, at the end of the day, the best Sub-Zero and what Kuai Liang is known for, his legacy is being the best and definitive Sub-Zero. And Hanzo Hasashi and his legacy and his whole character is best known for being Scorpion. Do we really want a Mortal Kombat world where we're never going to see Kuai Liang as Sub-Zero? We're never going to see Hanzo Hasashi be Scorpion? Is that something we really want to have? I don't think so. The way Kuai Liang Scorpion was done in MK1, I think is good for a one-off type of story, but it's not something that I would like to see stick for the character because, again, at the end of the day, the definitive Sub-Zero is Kuai Liang, and the idea of that never being the case is just, it doesn't suit well with me. I'm going to put Shang Tsung at A tier. It was impossible to top Cary Tagawa's performance in MK11. And the thought of, like, how are you going to top it? It was just, like, never crossed my mind. I thought that Shang Tsung was just going to sit out of this game because I'm just like, you know, you can't top Cary Tagawa, so just don't even try, or, like, why would you even try? Because it's not going to be good. Well, actually, it was done pretty well. It wasn't better than Cary Tagawa, but I think it was a good showing for Shang Tsung. I think everything about him is very much in the same light as Cary Tagawa Shang Tsung in the story mode, and I very much appreciate it. And there was nothing about his character that went against that. It is now the standard to have Shang Tsung be portrayed like Cary Tagawa portrayed Shang Tsung, and I very much appreciate that. I think that was a very much established in MK11 that we're like, hey, this is Shang Tsung. This is how Shang Tsung is going to act. This is who Shang Tsung is. And they followed through with that in MK1. I'm going to put Sindel at S tier. I don't think we talk enough about how well Sindel's characterization was in MK1. I've said this before, but this is the first time we have ever seen the true, real Sindel story-wise, because most of her main stories consist of her being undead, or her being a revenant, or her being whatever the hell that was in Mortal Kombat 11. Don't want to talk about it. We already know how bad MK11 Sindel was. But us Mortal Kombat fans and Sindel fans have always talked about, we want Mortal Kombat Deception Sindel. We want Mortal Kombat Deception Sindel. We want the true, real Sindel. And this is exactly what we meant when we talked about wanting to see the true, real Sindel from Mortal Kombat Deception, when she's not undead, when she's not a revenant, and when she's not this power-hungry, one-dimensional type of character like she was in MK11. This is exactly what we meant, and I absolutely love that this is now the Sindel that we have in this new timeline. She's dead for sure, but at least we got a really good showing for her. At least we finally got to understand who this character and what this character is all about. I'm going to put Smoke in B tier. I don't think there was anything wrong with Smoke. I just wish that he had a lot more to do, but nothing here kind of went against Smoke's character. Him being best buddies with Kuai Liang and having that whole kind of true brotherly dynamic, like, you know, like we all know that Kuai Liang's true like actual blood brother is Sub-Zero, but Kuai Liang, excuse me, Kuai Liang's real true brother is Smoke, and they definitely nailed that in Smoke's character or Smoke's appearance with them two in the same story for MK1. I just wish that Smoke got more to do, because beyond that, there really wasn't anything there, but nothing was bad at the same time. So I'm going to put Smoke at B tier. Good showing for Smoke story-wise. Now moving on to Sub-Zero, or Bi-Han's characterization and his story in MK1. I like it, but at the same time, I don't. What I do like is that, I'm going to put him at C tier. What I do like is that it does establish that Bi-Han is a fucking bitch. All right, he's a bitch, he's mean, and he's a bad person. I like that. But they do go a little bit overboard in the power-hungry route. That's never who Bi-Han was in any of the games, not even as Noob Saibot. One of the misconceptions that a lot of people have is that Bi-Han or Noob Saibot is evil with a capital E. He's not evil, but he's not a good person. He's a very bad person, but he's not evil. He only cares about himself and himself only, and what benefits him only. He won't go as far as to be like a power-hungry type of person. That's just never who Bi-Han was. He's not a good person. He's not a good person, and I'm glad that MK1 did nail that down, that he's a bitch, and he's mean, and he's a bad person. So I'm glad he got that they got that nailed down. But what they didn't get nailed down, and what they went too far in, is the fact that he's a lot more evil. He's a lot more power hungry. That's not who Bi-Han was. That never will be, in my view. So he's going to go C tier because, again, I do appreciate the fact that they got some of his character right. Tanya. Where do I put Tanya? Well, I will tell you this, guys. She's not going anywhere above D tier. But I don't know whether to put her at D tier or F tier. I don't like the fact that she's not a treacherous witch. The treachery is no longer within this character's story and her personality. And that's very unrecognizable for Tanya, because that is Tanya. Tanya is this treacherous witch type of character. And she's not that at all in MK1, which, again, makes her very unrecognizable. But at the same time, I do like the Umgadi story route that she's got going for her. But also at the same time, she doesn't do anything with that type of character role. I'm going to put her at D tier because I do think there's potential for this character. I do think that this character can be saved. They don't do anything of significance for this character in the story mode. What does she do? What does she impact in MK1 story? There's nothing. Zero. You could have had a nice little subplot where she was actually behind Jared's death, or she had a role in covering up the details of Jared's death that actually makes her look bad, and she ousted Li Mei as a result of that whole revelation and that whole event. You could have had something interesting like that with Tanya, but they didn't do anything with this character. Absolutely nothing. Again, her original story and her original personality, what makes Tanya Tanya, is being a treacherous witch type of character. That is not in Mortal Kombat 1 at all. And as a result, she is so unrecognizable. This is just not the Tanya that we've all grown to love. So yeah, I put her at D tier. I feel like you can do something with the Umgadi stuff, but as of right now, no. Like, there's just nothing that I like about this character's story at all for this game. Natara's a little bit weird because she doesn't get much to do. She isn't evil, and I'm glad that she's not evil, even though she spends a lot of time with the bad guys. And I do appreciate the fact that in the story mode, they put like basically a huge visual, like dialogue disclaimer, like, hey, by the way, I'm not evil. Like, just because I'm hanging out with the bad guys doesn't mean I'm evil. You know, I just care about Vaeternus and what's good for my realm. That's all I care about. And that's what, that's what I'm here for. I'm okay with that because, that is Natara. She cares about Vaeternus. She wants what's best for Vaeternus, and her whole character revolves around Vaeternus. And I do appreciate that they got that down somewhat in MK1, but they don't really do much with it, so I'm just gonna put her at C tier. I don't hate her. She definitely could have gotten a lot more to do. Nothing offensive about this character, at least in my view. I think Natara was just fine, but nothing really great. Reiko's story in MK1, I don't know why there's two Reikos here. I feel like was done pretty okay-ish. There wasn't anything that I disliked, but he definitely could have had more to do, and there was something missing about his character that I would have liked to have seen. I'm going to put him at C tier. The thing you have to understand about Reiko is that he is actually a very calm and collected military general. I talked a lot about this in my Reiko deep dive video, or my untold story about Reiko video. If you guys want to check that out, click the YouTube card somewhere around here, or in the link in the description below. And we didn't really get that in MK1. He was kind of like this hot-headed general. You know, he wasn't a general, actually. You know, he was the right-hand man to General Shao. So even though he wasn't General Reiko, he was basically there. He's the right-hand man to the general. So I would have really liked to have seen more of that calm and collected, strategic, military kind of guy. And yeah, but compared to the previous iteration that we got of Reiko, which was in the 2021 movie, I'll take the Reiko that we got in MK1, but it's not great. I wish we got more of him, and I wish he was more of his original self, like in the original timeline. I think giving Ermac the whole Jared story where Jared takes over Ermac was done very well, and it's something that we've all wanted to see for a very long time, and I'm going to put him at A tier. The only reason why I put him at A tier, or the reason why I put him at A tier, is because his ending did get leaked, and I'm not going to spoil it. It is out there. I don't know if it's been taken down by now, but I'm not going to spoil it, but I very much do like his ending, because his ending is similar to his story in stuff we've seen in the past. Not entirely, but it is very similar to what we've seen in the past, and I very much like that character route for him. So I'm going to put him at A tier. There isn't a lot that I can say about him, but I do like him in MK1 story mode and the base story, and his ending was very good, and I very much do like the whole Jared storyline that he's got going for him. We've wanted to see that for a long time, and we finally got it in this game. And last, but certainly not least, let's move over to Quan Chi. I moved Takeda over in NA because he only had a cameo in MK1. Can't really judge him off of that. But yeah, let's move on to Quan Chi. Quan Chi I thought it was fine. I think it's a little bit weird that he was just like this random outworlder who then learned to use dark magic in the Netherrealm, and then he basically became the Quan Chi that we always knew by other means. Like, I understand, and I get why Liu Kang would make, you know, his biggest enemies the biggest threats in previous timelines. You know, give them meaningless lives and like make them like nobodies, and then they become, you know, the original selves. I think that's very understandable. I just think it's a little bit weird, but everything else from Quan Chi in the story mode, I thought was just standard Quan Chi. Nothing super, you know, splashy like a lot of other characters. I say that a lot, but, you know, nothing super splashy, but also nothing offensive about the character. Nothing went against who Quan Chi is as a character. And I do like his dynamic with Shang Tsung. I like the fact that we got to see the Deadly Alliance have more cutscenes, have more dialogue and exchanges between each other. It's just that I feel like they lose a lot of too many fights throughout the story mode. Like, you beat up on Shang Tsung and Quan Chi a lot, and they're the main boss of the story mode. Now, they aren't the characters that you've been following, but that also doesn't make it better, because the main boss is just the main boss that comes out of nowhere, and you don't understand what makes them special compared to the characters you've been following. But yeah, nothing bad about Quan Chi that I have to say about him in MK1. The origin change is weird, but I would kind of expect it. It doesn't really piss me off. He acts and talks like Quan Chi, like his original self. So if he's acting and he's talking like his original self, I'm okay with it. Just don't do anything really dumb with him, and don't make him do anything that's out of character. And that's not what they've done in MK1. But there you guys have it. There is my tier list for every character's new origin or new character story in Mortal Kombat 1's new era. And let me know what you guys think. Do you guys agree with my list? Who would you move up? Who would you move down? Where do you guys disagree with me on, and where do you guys agree with me on? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a big thumbs up and subscribe for all things Mortal Kombat. I will see you guys in the next video.